This is the Colorado peach, tree-ripe and tasty, one of America's finest fruits, grown in the high-altitude valleys of the Gunnison and Colorado rivers, where nature has provided an ideal combination of soil and sunshine. But to raise truly superior fruit, natural advantages are not enough. It's a full-time, year-round job. Each average-sized 10-acre orchard requiring as much time and care as 320 acres of general non-irrigated farmland. This motion picture is the story, in brief, of that full year's work. Let's begin in the dormant season, during the winter or early spring. The first step, and it's a vitally important one, is pruning, done after one season's growth has been completed and before new growth starts. To simplify the job, Western Colorado growers for years have used a unique stilt walking method, and what better way could be devised to reach the treetops? Even so, it's a major task and requires about 500 man-hours of work each year for the average 10-acre orchard. Pruning is important for these reasons. It influences the set of the fruit and the strength of the tree, and distributes the fruit more uniformly over the bearing surface. It keeps the trees at the desired size and shape for the most intensive production. All excess branches and twigs are removed, and those remaining cut back as necessary. Then too, by leaving the tops of the trees open, a maximum amount of sunlight can penetrate to the fruiting twigs, stimulating their growth and increasing the size and color of the fruit. Another important activity of the dormant season is the spraying program for the control of diseases and insects. Materials and methods used are the result of years of experience combined with scientific studies by experiment stations and other state and federal agencies. It is essential to use the type of equipment which will provide complete coverage of the trees quickly and efficiently. This type of machine, for example, literally blankets the trees with a fog of lime sulfur solution used to control twig borer, aphid, scale, brown mite, and mildew. Equally adequate results are obtained with hand sprays of this type. The long hoses are equipped with special fog nozzles to break up the solutions into a fine mist. The portable pumps develop 650 pounds pressure at the nozzle. The same type of equipment also is used with the dormant oil spray, as is being done in this orchard. This material will control most of the same insects as the lime sulfur solution. Also, there are a number of dusts which are very effective, and other specially designed machines are used for spreading them. The dust being used here is DDT, applied for control of the lygus bug. About 350 pounds of dust, or 2,000 gallons of spray, are required per 10 acres of orchard for each application, and several applications are needed each season. And here's something else. Since peach orchards occupy the same land for many years, proper soil management is of utmost importance. Periodical disking helps destroy weeds and insects and improves the movement of air and water through the soil. Later in the season, cover crops can be disked into the soil, providing valuable humus. This type of disk is used where clean cultivation is practiced, as well as where cover crops are used. In the spring, the peach orchards come to life in a riot of delicate pink blossoms. Springtime in the Rockies is blossom time in western Colorado. The high-altitude valleys of the Gunnison and Colorado rivers are encircled by lofty peaks and mesas, producing an ideal air drainage condition. The surrounding mountains give protection from severe winds and storms, and the prevailing movement of air down the valleys normally prevents the temperature from dropping so low but the blossoms are damaged by spring frost. The mild, dependable climate makes this one of the most certain peach-producing areas year in and year out in the United States. A new development being tried experimentally by a number of western Colorado growers is chemical thinning. A special chemical compound is applied by any of the standard spraying methods. This causes many of the blossoms to drop off without setting fruit. If every blossom developed into a peach, the tree would have a heavier load than it could carry. Size and quality of the fruit would suffer. The chemical treatment is for the purpose of reducing the amount of hand thinning which later will be necessary. The natural richness of the soil is maintained by regular applications of organic matter, supplemented with commercial fertilizer, providing the plant food elements essential to production of high-quality fruit. The mechanical spreader assures uniform application at specific rates per acre, depending upon the needs of the soil. The average 10-acre orchard annually requires about 100 tons of barnyard manure. Vital to fruit production is water, but Colorado, agriculturally speaking, is an arid state. Since rainfall is inadequate, the life-giving liquid must be supplied from the melting snows of the high mountains. Taylor Lake, located high in the rugged mountainous area of Gunnison County, is one of a number of artificial reservoirs created to meet the needs of agriculture. The dam is an earth and rock-filled structure with a storage capacity of 106,000 acre-feet. That means enough water to cover 106,000 acres to a depth of 1 foot. Water from the reservoir flows into the ditches of the distant farmlands and orchards in Montrose, Delta, and Mesa counties by way of the Taylor and Gunnison rivers. Several miles to the east of Palisade, in beautiful DeBeck Canyon of the Colorado River, this diversion dam is the nucleus of the Grand Valley Reclamation Project. Water is here diverted from the river into a 55-mile-long main canal, which feeds scores of smaller canals and ditches serving the famous Palisade District, largest of the peach-producing areas. The extensive irrigation system has made a veritable garden spot of land which otherwise would be desert, capable only of supporting sagebrush and greasewood. Irrigated soil must be kept in good tilth, requiring the frequent use of tractor-drawn cultivators. With the heavy orchard discs now in general use, cover crops can be cut into the soil without resorting to the plow, which would be apt to damage feeder roots. The orchards must be marked out with small furrows for the first run of water. Another attachment to the tractor does this job neatly and efficiently. Irrigation water must be applied at the right time and in the right amounts to produce top-quality peaches. Soil, moisture, and climate, a careful managerial program, and unrelenting hard work are the basis on which Colorado peach growers have built their industry. Shortly after blossom time, and periodically during the summer, the grower is busy with the familiar irrigation shovel. The water flow in the furrow must be gradual to allow moisture to penetrate to a depth of 4 or 5 feet. In some locations where it is difficult to use the furrow method, such as steep slopes or small irregular areas, portable sprinklers are used. This system helps prevent erosion and retard seepage. The stilts are put back into service when thinning time comes. Usually more blossoms set fruit than the tree can support. Some of the small peaches fall naturally from the tree during the June drop, but even after nature has reduced the load, further thinning is required for top quality. Like pruning, this job requires about 500 man-hours of work in the average orchard. The use of stilts again makes it a simple matter to detect clusters and overloaded branches and remove excess fruit. Then additional energy goes into the remaining peaches. Thinning promotes maximum size and increased sugar content. The peach growers of this region are quick to adopt new methods and devices. For example, the use of the airplane for dusting, a great time saver. Insects wage relentless war upon man and his projects, and man must be just as relentless in utilizing all the tools of modern science to forestall their deadly attacks. Here is further evidence that Colorado peach growers are moving forward toward greater efficiency and economy to bring to the consumer peaches of the highest possible quality. During August and September, the many activities of the growing season culminate in a short, fast harvest period. In less than 3 weeks' time, more than 1.5 million bushels must be picked in the Mesa County district alone. 95% are of the Alberta Freestone variety. Colorado sunshine has played a large part in maturing these luscious peaches, justly famous for their flavor, color, and sweetness, blushing beauties from the sky-high orchards of the Rockies. Everyone in the region who can be spared from other work helps harvest the crop, and thousands of additional workers come in every year at harvest time. An average crew of 25 will pick about 1 acre a day. Train pickers operate at high speed, but speed is not the only essential. Peaches are subject to bruising if not handled gently, and fruit that is damaged in the picking does not meet the high quality standard of Colorado peaches. The care with which these pickers handle the delicate fruit is worthy of attention. The peaches are placed in the picking sack, and when the sack is reasonably filled, the fruit is transferred to a field box or basket. Note how gently the picker lowers the sack into the basket. The peaches roll slowly into the container, and bruising is avoided. Colorado growers know that the delicate fleshing of peach makes it necessary that handling and harvest operations be performed with care. Harvesting is hard work, but it has its compensations. Here's a couple of peaches that will never get to the packing shed. From the orchard, the fruit is transported in field boxes or baskets on rubber-tired field trucks, and only a reasonably small load is moved at a time. The perishable nature of this crop demands rapid but careful handling so as to move a large volume of fruit in a very short period of time. As the peaches arrive at the packing shed, they are unloaded promptly and put through an interesting cycle of operations before they're ready to be shipped. First, they are carefully emptied onto a rubber-covered roller conveyor, which will carry them through a brushing machine to remove the unpalatable fuzz, nature's protective covering. The rollers turn the peaches so that all sides of them can be seen by the graders, who throw out any bruised or blemished peaches. In the defuzzer, the peaches are pressed against revolving brushes with bristles nearly as soft as the fuzz itself, so the skin of the peaches will not be damaged. The effectiveness of the defuzzer is here demonstrated. The peach on the left is in its natural state, the other has been brushed. The basket contains some of the fuzz removed by the brushing machine. The final grading for size is done mechanically as the peaches drop gently through graduated slots onto various conveyor belts which take them to the wrapping room, next up in the peach assembly line. Here the fruit is provided with a protective covering of soft paper. The flying fingers of skilled workers wrap and box the fruit as it comes from the grater with almost unbelievable speed. But it takes speed, untiring speed, to keep up with the veritable flood of peaches during the brief harvest period. They are able to carry on this operation rapidly because the peaches have already been graded carefully and all imperfect ones discarded. No machine could match the swift, sure touch of these skillful girls. The filled boxes are moved along on another conveyor to the lidding machine, which neatly nails the slatted tops to the boxes. The packing job is done, but the transportation job has just begun. First step is the movement by truck to the loading docks for transfer into railroad refrigerator cars. And that brings up another story, the story of how it is possible to move huge quantities of highly perishable fruit to distant markets without ruinous spoilage. A story that begins with a unique harvesting operation in midwinter, the harvesting of thousands of tons of ice. High in the Rockies, 150 miles up the Colorado River from Palisade, ice ponds are flooded with water which freezes quickly at sub-zero temperatures. When the ice reaches a thickness of 14 inches, loose snow is scraped off and the ice scored into 2-foot squares by a circular saw which cuts only partway through. A jigsaw then cuts off huge floats, 30 squares long by 10 wide, which are floated to the water box where they are easily broken into squares along the score lines and lifted out of the water on a conveyor. Each block of ice goes through a planer which shaves it to exact size, at the same time corrugating the top so that the cakes will not freeze together when stored. Another conveyor carries these over ice cubes down the 1,000-foot-long loading dock where 42 cars can be loaded with 16 to 1,800 tons at one spotting, a normal day's output. The season's harvest of 50,000 tons is stored in huge ice houses at Grand Junction, Minturn, and Denver. The greater part of it is used for the Western Slopes peach crop. To move the Colorado peach crop requires some 3,000 modern refrigerator cars, reefers, supplied by the American Refrigerator Transit Company. It's a real problem of logistics to have that many cars at the right place and at the right time. But by close cooperation between railroad and shipper, the job is handled without confusion. The cars are assembled in advance on storage tracks in the principal peach-producing areas and are ready to roll when the harvest begins. The reefers for each day's loading are pre-iced at Grand Junction, so they will be already cool when loaded with table-ripe peaches. Bunkers at each end of these ice boxes on wheels are filled to capacity to safeguard the peach crop while in transit, and will be re-iced frequently en route to assure the constant circulation of cool air over the fruit. Meanwhile, the tree-ripe fruit is moving in a steady stream from orchards to loading sheds. Samples from each truckload are examined by federal and state inspectors as a final check of size and quality. Men trained in the art of loading move boxes into the pre-iced reefers. They are stowed in layers, 7 boxes wide and 10 high, 1,400 boxes to the car. As the height increases, the layers are secured with stripping lath firmly nailed on both the back and front of the boxes to hold them in regular alignment and prevent side shifting. A small space is left between rows to allow for proper circulation of ice-cooled air through the car. With an average of 60 peaches in each box, there are more than 80,000 luscious Colorado peaches in every carload. About half the crop is packed in the familiar bushel basket. Truckloads stop at the inspection stations for sampling, then unload directly into waiting reefers. The baskets are carefully placed in what is termed a 3x3 offset to tighten the load and permit free circulation of cool air, so loaded that one full basket does not rest directly on another. When loaded 3 layers high, a car will hold 396 bushels. For a 528 bushel car, the baskets are loaded 4 layers high, and an average of 80 to 100,000 peaches per car. Quality is the same for each type of pack, boxes, or baskets. Only perfect peaches, graded to U.S. standards, are eligible for the pack marketed from this district. Immediately after loading, the doors are closed to keep the cold air inside, and the car is sealed. Another 100,000 delicious table-ripe Colorado peaches ready for fast transportation to the markets of the nation. It's time to move from packing sheds to waiting trains. Speed is the watchword of this peach deal. On peak days, 300 cars are loaded and shipped. Many of the cars receive additional pre-cooling while on the assembly tracks. This is done with portable mechanical refrigeration units that blow cold air into the loaded cars. As rapidly as possible, loaded cars are made up into trains, and they're on the way. Solid train loads move day and night during the brief season. This is no small business with western Colorado fruit growers. They have watched carefully the production steps of this crop, have spared no expense to assure a high-quality product. As we have seen, the average 10-acre orchard is a full-time job the year round. Their crop now on the way to market, the peach growers have a sense of satisfaction that they have done their part toward giving to America a peach grown for high flavor and sweetness. And so, over the mountains and through the valleys roll these trainloads of Colorado peaches. Cool air circulating through each car from the ice-filled bunkers keeps the fruit in prime condition until arrival at destination. Some of these trains operate over Rio Grande's Colorado River scenic shortcut through the 6-mile-long Moffett Tunnel to Denver. There they are transferred to the principal railroads using the Omaha-Chicago Gateway. Other trains go by way of the famous Royal Gorge route to Pueblo, Colorado, where the Kansas City-St. Louis Gateway line speed them on their way. Either route, they travel Rio Grande, the main line through the Rockies. An important part of the transportation service is frequent re-icing en route. At Rio Grande's modern North Yard in Denver, this is handled speedily with unique track icing machines, which gobble up a steady stream of ice cakes moving on conveyors from the ice house, crush it to proper size between spike-studded rollers, and deliver it through movable chutes directly into the bunkers. These self-propelled monsters were developed especially for rapid and efficient handling of perishable crops. 2 85-car trains can be serviced at the same time, and average icing time is only 1.5 minutes per car. Time throughout the nation, in houses, in hotels, and restaurants, in nearly every one of the 48 states. Delicious Colorado peaches add a flavor thrill to any meal, tasty and table ripe, ready to enjoy. As a breakfast fruit, they are unsurpassed. A smile of pleasure reflects their sweetness. To enjoy their goodness throughout the year, the thrifty housewife has discovered how easy it is to can them at home, even with Johnny's helpful hindrance. But he's easily taken care of. There's no better after-school snack than a blushing, juicy Colorado peach. With Johnny out from underfoot, this home canning demonstration can proceed in an orderly manner. This is the cold pack method, one of several suitable for canning peaches. After filling the jars with syrup, a knife is inserted to remove any air bubbles. The sterilized cap is applied, and the jars transferred to the kettle. Colorado peach growers are justly proud of their superior product, mountain grown for high flavor, so more and more housewives throughout the nation are learning to demand the Colorado label, an assurance of high quality attained through painstaking year-round effort. And now let's go back for a moment to blossom time and employ the miracle of time-lapse photography to speed up nature. In a brief 2 minutes, you will see the complete development of a Colorado peach from blossom to tree-ripe fruit. With the first warm spring weather, the buds, which formed on new wood the previous season, start to swell. About 2 weeks later, the blossoms burst open. Within 5 or 6 days, the tree is in full bloom. In actual time, it takes about 3 hours for a blossom to open fully after bursting. After a few days, the petals fall as the embryo peach begins to swell. Meanwhile, leaf growth has started and progresses for about 3 weeks when the leaves reach full development. Growth is rapid during the daytime, slows down at night. Each pulsation here, enormously speeded up, represents a 24-hour cycle. The tiny peaches are also growing and continue to swell for the first 2 months. Then, during the 3rd month, growth apparently stops, but actually, essential development is continuing inside the seed all during this period. Outer growth resumes about mid-July and continues until the peaches reach full size. The leaves play an important part in the entire process. The photosynthesis, they combine carbon dioxide from the air with water absorbed through the root system to produce sugars and starches, giving the peach its sweetness. About 10 days before harvest time, the blushing peach color begins to appear. And here it is, a true fruit of distinction, the Colorado peach.